You're watching the Final Fantasy Entertainment and Podcast Network, Final Fan TV, and I am the host, the Warrior of Hype. And joined with me is the other host, Fyraga Fighter. What's up, Vinny? How you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, Daniel. How are you?
Oh man, it's time to talk about the trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 because at this point it's inevitable. Okay, Vinny, Nomura had said just recently that Final Fantasy VII Remake, or I don't know if it was specifically remake, but 25th anniversary news is coming next month. That's June. That's only in a few weeks at this point. So we know that the season 2 of First Soldier ends on June 1st. So do we get all of this information on June 1st, because that would be June, or is it going to be saved for later? We don't know. We talked about this last week, but all we do know now for certain is that there is going to be news. Nomura had confirmed it. So let's talk about Part 2. Let's focus on Part 2 for this episode. Let's focus on the trailer that we expect to see. What I want to know from you, man, is what do you hope to see the most, or like what are some things? Obviously, if we had our choice, we just want to see it. You know what I mean? Like we want to see the gameplay. Give us everything. Everything. But what do you want to see the most? And everybody watching right now, feel free to chime in. What do you want to see the most? And we'll get to that in just a moment. Go ahead, Vinny.
What I want to see the most is, I want to see the locations that we're gonna go. I really want to see how they do the like the marshlands. I want to see how they do Junon. If we see Junon, we at least know we're going up to Junon.
Oh God, I hope so.
That tells a lot. Like if we see Costa del Sol, we know we're going there. Maybe that's the end of the game, and but like at least we get to see it, and we know kind of like, all right, if this only goes up to Costa del Sol, then we might know like how many more parts we're getting. I want to see. I think this is probably the number one thing everybody wants to see, but I really want to see how they're doing the open world. So that's got to be something they show, right? They got to show you, like, is this open world? Is it open area? Like, is it going to be, who knows? Maybe they throw us all for a loop and they go the classic, like, mini cloud on the big world map, and you're kind of just running around and stuff.
That would be pretty freaking cool. I don't even know. I thought about that for a little while, where it's just like, what if it was, here's your world map and you're running around on it, and it's just a fun way to get from point A to point B, but it is like that. It's evoking the original feel. I don't know, man. It'd be cool. I don't think they're going that route, but I like where you're going with it, though. You're saying that you want to see how the open world is going to be handled, or how areas are going to be handled, how exploration essentially. So, and we'll probably be able to tell that from the trailer, like. If they do show, say, combat in the marshlands, then we would be, or the Midgar area, we would be able to see, okay, this looks like it has, a funnel, or, like it looks like it's a linear path. Maybe they even have a map up in the top right that really just gives it away. But I mean, stuff like that, I totally get. Things for us to dissect and pick apart and figure out how they're going to handle it. That's something I want to see too. And you're talking about like some clues to how far we're going to go. I mean, if they just straight up show Vincent, we know that we're getting to Nibelheim. Actually, we know. Yeah, I mean, we know we're getting to Nibelheim. That's that's that. Or if they show Sid, which I have to bring up, in fact, because there was a picture on Twitter of the Cloud motion capture, the Japanese motion capture performer. My mind's not working. That does Cloud, right? He was standing next to two different people. One of them was holding their arm, and we're like, "Oh, okay, Barrett." And the other one was kind of standing with their hands on their hips, like like back like this. And somebody compared it to Kingdom Hearts in Kingdom Hearts, like they have a Cid standing there with his hands on his hips, and it almost is like, yo, is that Cid? But then again, when you think about like the development process of a video game, motion capture is it's kind of a little earlier on, and so maybe that was part 3. And you know, they've already started kind of working on part 3, motion capture, because why not? Like, let's get, you know, the development times can overlap. That's not a big thing. Or is that part 2? Like, are we going to see Cid? Did they get called in to say like, hey, we need to prepare the trailer real quick, come on in and shoot some motion capture? Because that could be a thing. Like, you know, let's put a trailer together.
Doesn't Heidegger put his hands on his hips and laugh?
I mean,
my memory might be failing me, but I thought he did. I thought Heidegger puts.
If I can bring up the Twitter image, then maybe you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. I totally see what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, like, it could be, but why would Cloud be standing next to what is assuming to be Barrett and then just Heidegger? You know, like, so it's either, it would either be Cid, right? Or it's definitely not Vincent just standing there like this, unless if he's just being, you know, the actor is being silly. So there's just some speculation going on, right? So I had to bring that up because if we see Cid in the trailer, dude, we're going to get to Rocket Town. That's a pretty big jump. Like, I mean, that's a good chunk of story right there.
That's if they decide to follow the original story's chronology. I mean, there's also the possibility that we meet Cid way earlier
You're
than
absolutely
we're supposed
right.
to.
Yeah.
We can meet Vincent way earlier than we're supposed to. Because, I mean, the original never said that Yuffie was in Midgar when all of this was going down. It's just heavily implied since you find her so close to Midgar in the wilderness.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, I mean, Cid could be in Junon doing something for the airship or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the high wind is there. I mean, that's absolutely true. That's a really good point. Like, it doesn't have to follow the original. And we even said at one point, I think it was during the Legions talk that I had, and I had mentioned to Legions, I said, what if Yuffie is at Fort Condor? Like, that's where she found refuge. I mean, it's like-minded people. She loves the board game. You know, like, so what if we see Yuffie at Fort Condor rather than running into her in a forest area? And just like there's things that they can change up. And like you said, man, Cid could join the party earlier. I mean, because if you think about it, Cid would probably be a guest character. Because if you're getting all the way to Rocket Town and they show Cid, and then I imagine you're probably going to find yourself in the Tiny Bronco, make your way to the key Temple of the Ancients, and then that would be the end of the game. The Forgotten City, I think, is the end of the game. That's my personal opinion. I think it's going to be building up to like, will she, won't she die, type thing, and then that would be that'll be the finale. That's where I go with it. A lot of people say Nibelheim. A lot of people say they would love to see it end with the weapons rising up. That's a huge endeavor, I think. That's optimistic, I think. I would love it, but who knows? So seeing Cid, he might be a guest character like Red 13 was, and then maybe he was brought in to do motion capture because he's just a guest character. Like, they didn't need his stuff earlier on when they were doing the development. They just needed him to come in and say, all right, we need you to shoot a few scenes. We need you to do stuff like this as we kind of are later in on the development cycle. It's possible.
So Peter says some people say Northern Crater. I think that's basically the game. The game is over. You might as well just, you know.
That would be essentially if they skipped. Like, they just said, okay, we're no longer following the original at all, and we find ourselves in the Northern Crater after like Junon takes a right-hand turn and goes north. The ship has cargo crashed at the Icicle Inn, you know, or something like that.
Yeah, because the game would be massive with everything that they'd have to put into it for just one part.
Right.
I think Northern Crater is severely optimistic.
I think.
I wouldn't get
You
your
know
hopes
what?
up for
Maybe
Northern
he's
Crater.
talking about like the whirlwind maze part of the northern crater. Maybe he's talking about like when you get to like the reunion people, like and then like Cloud
Hmm.
falls into the life stream and all, or hands over the black materia. Is that what happened? Maybe it's that, because that is where the weapons rise up, right? Yeah, that's
Um,
where the weapons
the
start to
the
rise up.
weapons the
So he's
weapons
not
rise
talking
up
about
when
end game. He's talking about that point where where Cloud hands over the black materia to Sephiroth.
yeah, well, the weapons rise up when they find Sephiroth in the crystallized
Yeah,
um
right, right.
thing, and then
So
we
that's what he
see
was talking
Ultimate
about.
Weapon's eye open.
Okay, yeah, he
But
said that because like first thing we went to was like end game, like
yeah,
the Northern Crater. We're getting all the way up
that's
to
what I
that.
attribute Northern
Yeah,
Crater to.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, yeah. So that's possible for sure. I mean, like, I still think it's super optimistic, um, but the trailer itself can show things. I just don't. Well, I mean, I can't put it past Square Enix. They're very notorious for giving a lot away. So whatever they show in the trailer is going to give us a really good sense of what we're going to be able to expect story wise, as well as the all important thing, that the big topic, open world or linear or open area and stuff like that. So like where you're going with that. As far as when they show the action, like hopefully if they show gameplay, I'd love to see team ups. That was one thing that I had talked about. I'd love to
Mhm.
see them. I felt like they were experimenting with it with Intergrade, with Yuffie and Sonnen, doing their team up attacks. I'd love to see that fleshed out a little bit more, and interact with your party more. Especially like Final Fantasy 15 did a great job of feeling like you're together working, fighting the enemies. So
Mhm.
hopefully they kind of mix that in to the trailer to say like, hey, here's a teaser of freaking Barrett chucking Red 13 or something, like something like that. So camaraderie between the party would be cool. I think they're going to give us a little bit of a sense of like heading to Junin. That's my opinion. I think they're just going to show us like the Junin. Like we're going to go to Junin. Maybe you even get
Like,
the parade in the trailer, and it's just kind of like now I'm super excited about that. So that's where I'm thinking, and also maybe give us a little hint at what we can expect with Magic, and where that's going to be going. Because now that we've already have the Faraga and Blizzaga and all this other stuff, I had come up with the clever idea that everything kind of goes to Blizzard and then Blizzard 2 and then no, yeah, what did I say? The Blizzard 2 and then Blizzara 2 and then Blizzaga 3 or something like that.
mhm.
Or 2, I'm sorry. I'm mixing up my own thing. But you guys at home get the idea, where you add a 2 at the end of the spell names now, and then they become and they look more powerful than ever before. That keeps it exciting.
Mhm.
Maybe even do like something like a Final Fantasy 15 effect, where in 15 where you used Blizzaga, it left over this like frost on the battlefield that affected people. They would get cold or something. That would be cool. I'd like to see that, and then put a 2 at the end of the spell names. Maybe
So
give us a hint there. Yeah.
touching on that, and I don't know how well they'd be able to portray this in a trailer,
Hmm.
but carryover. So, are we gonna have the exhaustive weapon list that we had from Remake Part 1, or like,
Hmm.
are we only gonna have one weapon and it's gonna
Hmm.
be the best weapon that you were able to get in Remake Part 1? Or are spells carrying over, or is it just gonna do like one of those old style, like if you had I forget what game did it, but if you had like, I'm just gonna use this as an example. If you had a Jack and Daxter save file on your memory card, and when you played Jack and Daxter 2, it scanned for that,
Yeah.
Jack and Daxter 1 file, and then gave you something like a bonus in Jack and Daxter
So
2
you're saying
type
like just
thing.
a bonus type thing rather than
Mhm.
transfer all of your progress and stuff?
Yeah.
That is a very, very like, that's a good question. Like that's what people want to know. I mean, it's a big topic, right? A
Because
point of,
you're level 50 at the end of Remake Part 1.
yeah, or they
Are
just
you
going to
going to
start
be
you at
level
50.
50?
Like they're just going to
Are
start
they
you
going to
at
start you at
50.
50? And then what's the level cap going to be?
And I think it'll build up to 100. I mean, there's mods out there right now that have increased the level cap. Like so so you can keep leveling up. There's a mod out for Final Fantasy VII Remake where you can just keep on leveling up to like level 70, level 80 and stuff like that. You can keep going and it levels it scales your health and everything accordingly. So I think it's there. I think you'll start at 50 and then keep on going from there. For them to scan your like save data transfers over, man, that would be really cool. I think yeah, like
It's got to be onto some server, right?
yeah.
Because like,
I mean, sure, yeah. I mean, like you could. There's games out there that allow you to do that. Like, I know. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's games out there that allow you to do that, or it's just kind of be like an update. Like, hey, you need part 1 in order to play part 2 or something like that, and like everything, it's just a massive update for part 1. That would be interesting. But yeah, so. Vinny, catch up on the chat real quick, and I will say basically, as far as the battling goes, that's what I would love to see. You know, does your save data transfer over? Does all your progress and all that other stuff transfer over? Can we see new magic spells and how that's going to work? I mean, because obviously you got to keep it fresh. You can't just have Fire Go already, like so you have to be able to progress that more. And I think it would be such a cool idea, such a cool throwback to like the original to add just a 2, and then in part 3, like Faraga 3, and it's like a freaking like it's an animation in itself. But what do we got in chat, Vinny?
So Peter says, to be honest, I doubt it because Yuffie steals your materia, which okay, but that she doesn't steal your weapon, she doesn't steal your level, she doesn't steal all these other things that can't be explained away. Like Yuffie can't just come in and say like you're level 1 now, you know. So I don't think they're gonna go with the Yuffie stealing your materia thing.
I think she's going to do that later in the game.
Yeah, maybe later, like when we get to Wutai or something.
As long as we get to Wutai, well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll make sense in the context of what's going on, but. If it happens after Aerith dies, it feels like that's gonna feel wrong. Like it's gonna be like, really, you're gonna one of our comrades died, and now you're just going to steal our materia. Like that's a big thing. Like, are we going to Wutai in part 2? That's huge.
Well, with where part 2 ends, because like there's so many parts of the game that I want to get the Midgard treatment, and if the game. Let's say the game makes it all the way to Northern Crater. I feel like a lot of places I want to see get fleshed out are going to take a hit because of that. Like, they have to spend a lot of time in Wutai. They have to... I really want them to... Yeah, exactly. I really want them to spend a lot of time in Cosmo Canyon and really give Seto more of a story.
Right.
And Red's mom, Red 13's mom, too. I wanted to learn more about her in-game rather than... Because her context was given in a book, right? It was On the Way to a Smile. Was that the one?
Yeah, I think so. I know that they talked about Red and like how he indeed had babies, like because that was one of the things. Like I thought he was the last of his kind, but they explain how that whole system works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, dude, that would be cool. Like to really flesh out. So Vinny, I mean, this is like. Just a question, that we don't have to really go into deep detail about, but like, would you rather have a Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 that goes to like as far as you can go, like let's say the Forgotten City? Would you rather have a Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 that goes to the Forgotten City and everything is kind of streamlined like it is with in the original? I mean, you get the context, but that's it. They're not going to flesh out any stories. We're just going beeline. We're going to go straight to where as far as we can go. Or would you rather have a part 2 that I don't know, like ends at Nibelheim at tops, but they really take the time to flesh out Cosmo Canyon and all this other stuff? Would you rather have that?
Since we're already not getting the 1-for-1 remake that I was hoping it would be, I want them to like sit down and spend the time to flesh things out. Because at this point, I'm already along for the ride. I
True.
don't care if this takes 4 or 5 installments.
Yeah.
I want if this is going to be their magnum opus for Final Fantasy VII,
Mm.
then I want it to be fleshed out to the point where it's not convoluted like the original was, where people were like, if you didn't do every single thing in the game,
Mm.
people were left with questions, and I
Mm.
don't want to be left with questions. I enjoy being able to speculate on things that were meant to be speculated on and not have an answer, but I don't like having to guess at things that it's like this needs an answer and I don't want to have to guess at what the correct answer is. So I'd rather them flesh things out and give Vincent more of a story, give Sid more of a story,
Mm.
and like really flesh out what's going on in Cosmo Canyon. Bugenhagen, I feel like needs just an origin story because he was one of the coolest characters in the game. He was so wise and
Yeah.
everything, and he
I.
has this observatory,
Yeah.
and everybody wants to see what he's floating on too.
Right.
We
Yeah.
want to
I
see
can't
that
wait
ball.
to see Bugenhagen. Dude, that's gonna be awesome. Let's see that in the trailer. I want to see him in the trailer. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe one of my top things to see in the trailer might just be Cosmo Canyon if they do that. If they go that route, and I just want to see Bugenhagen just show up for a second, and say a real quick quip or something like that. If this takes 4 or 5 installments, I'll be checking out. Yeah, yeah. Night Sky Prince is chiming in saying that I wouldn't expect definitive answers for everything though. That's true. Honestly, I'm okay with the exploration. Like for me, I want the idea of like I found something that you didn't, and then maybe you go back and find it. If that's what you're talking about, I like that idea. But and then Peter Vickers says, and he brings up the point again that this is not a remake, right? This is a sequel or a retelling. So we are just assuming that it's going to go along with the original, which it's not. It's totally not. So
I really don't think it's a retelling either. I think
no,
that
definitely not.
it's not a remake or a retelling because I feel like the events of Final Fantasy VII Original
Yeah.
happened in this world already because it really seems like Aerith and Sephiroth know what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
So
I don't-
with that
it's-
taken
this
into
is a sequel.
Yeah, with that taken into consideration, I think you don't like go into part 2 expecting like, oh, I wanted to go up to the point where the weapons come out. Who knows if the weapons are even going to be a thing? Like who
They
knows
gotta
if
be, but
yeah, I mean
who
they
knows?
gotta be, but like Aerith dying is, I feel like that's the will she won't she dramatic build up. That's where it's going to end for me. But I think that's where it's going to be like, it's going to be just like part 1 was, just like it was, like where you're getting the original game and you're like, oh man, nostalgia, yeah. What? Okay, whatever, dude. Nah, yeah. What? And so but forget about it. Whatever those ghost things were, forget about it. I'm enjoying my time. And that's how part 2 is going to be like, oh man, parade, Junon, yeah, love it. I'm on the cargo ship. What? Tidal wave washed me up on the shore of Icicle End. What the heck is going on? I don't know what's happening anymore. And that's what the game wants to do to you. It's going to just throw you for a loop about midway through, and then all of a sudden you're no longer playing the original game. This is the story they're trying to tell, and it's not. I mean, that's where I'm saying. So we can't really officially say where we think it's going to end. You know what I mean? Like, or where we think, oh yeah, man, I'd love to see it go all the way up to the Forgotten City. Who knows, right? I mean, these locations are there for sure, but who knows if like Wutai is a skip? Like, who knows if you go from you get to Rocket Town and then you just cross on over. I mean, I guess that's the thing. Like with the never mind, forget that point. But basically, I'm just saying like, what if you go straight to Wutai? Who knows what's going to happen? It seems like Wutai is being built up from the first game. It feels like it should be featured in the second game, especially with the whole Wutai war. Still, kind of tensions are high.
And
Yeah.
there's also the aspect of Yuffie was introduced, but she's not with the party. So
Right.
there's always the chance that, so let's say they show Wutai or Icicle Inn or something in the trailer, and then they go the route of Yuffie's not in your party. She could be anywhere, and it could be going from you're playing as Cloud in the party and then you beat a chapter, and then the next chapter is like, what is Yuffie doing right now? And like, you know, you might have, you know, until they meet up. Like, it might be one of those, like, this chapter is Cloud and his party moving this direction, and then this part is Yuffie moving in this direction.
Yeah.
And then
also Peter once again chiming in with a good point. Zack, I mean, like, that's a storyline too. Like, they have to flesh out. Like, they have to talk about it, unless if it's going to be one of those things where, I mean, this is also a possibility. No lie. I mean, this is a possibility. You get to the end of part 2, and then we check in with Zack, and it's just little tiny story nuggets for Zack, and then we realize what this whole true purpose of this storyline really is at the very end of part 2. It doesn't have to be Zack playable. It doesn't have to be Zack, like, you know, flash sideways, Lost style type thing. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be that. It could just be like, oh, Zack is in this universe, and then now we see Zack a little bit more, and then this is what he's truly doing. And I say that as in, like, just completely unopinionated, because if it was my opinion, I would hate to see anything more related to it, to be honest with you. I just don't like the idea of Zack being alive. So I think they're definitely going to have to talk about it in part 2. They can't just leave it alone. So man, this is it. It's up in the air as far as where we go with it. But as far as the trailer goes, we've had some pretty good ideas of like what we would want to see. We've had some, you know, once again to kind of recap a little bit. For the trailer itself, we want to see what the open environment looks like for the first time in Remake. We want to see what a biome looks like rather than just industrial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the slums.
Yeah, and it's funny because I kind of went back and as I like select chapters for Remake, you realize that, man, it's really just dark blues and greens the entire game. So it'll be great to get out of that foggy dark blue and greens and go into like sunshine and open skies, like freaking you know, big mountains, a marshland,
water,
right? Yeah, so it's going to be really cool to see the open areas, whether or not that's going to be big open areas Final Fantasy 14 style, or it's going to be like just a linear path, small, you know, segmented areas that lead you to the next place. So we'll see. I mean, that's a topic that we've talked about extensively on one of our podcasts with Legions back there. So if you want to go check that out, go for it. But yeah, I mean, we will get a sense from the trailer if they show combat outside. You know what I mean? And if you think about it, it's like, I feel like that's the only place they can show combat, unless if it's at Junin. There's gotta be open outside combat. So I'd love to see that. And now, chat, what do you guys think, or no, what do you hope to see the most? Like, what if there was one thing the trailer showed you besides a release date? I mean, I don't know, probably you go ahead and say if that's what you really want to see. Give me that, like a release window. But what is the one thing you would want to see the most in the trailer for Remake Part 2?
Release window would be nice. I mean, even if it's just a title drop in a release window, that's still, you can mark your calendar with something.
Coming spring 2024.
But honestly, like, aside from the biomes, like seeing how they do the world map, I want to see what their like debut summon is going to be. Like, I want to see, because obviously the summons aren't going to line up to where they were found in the original game, because
you already have Leviathan.
You know, right, you have Leviathan and stuff like that. I want to see what summons are going to be, like, they're going to introduce and stuff, like.
Although I have a theory about that, Vinny. I think that the real Leviathan, like the true Leviathan materia, whatever, is out there. I think it's at Wutai. Yeah. Because I feel like it's a Shinra copy. It's a Shinra manufactured Leviathan, and it's a disgrace. And like, you get the real Leviathan at Wutai. That would be awesome.
So, Night Sky Prince says, maybe not from the trailer, but from the information, a clear number of parts and directional intent of the game.
Dang.
Don't we all?
Man, Night Sky Prince, Yoshi P does not direct this. but yeah, that would be That would be great. And say like he just sits down and he's like, "This is our 25th anniversary." There's no like trailer or anything, and it's just they're just talking about it. That's possible. It really is. Like, it's possible. They might just say like, "Hey, yeah, we've been, development's coming along nicely. This is our news for you. Development's coming along nicely, and we've kind of settled on a like how many parts this is going to take." And if they drop that information, cool. Yeah. So I mean, that's possible too. Possible. Yeah.
There's just like so many summons from the OG that I really want to see how they're done up. Like, Phoenix looks cool, Hades looks cool, and then I mean, we all want to see how summoning Knights of the Round is gonna look. You just have.
Oh my
you just
God.
summon all those dudes at once, and they're just these gigantic knights. Just
I hope they keep it at a minute
whatever.
long. I hope they keep it at like it's got to be a minute long animation again. Or just to summon them into the battlefield, and then for remake style, they have to fight alongside you. That's 12 awesome giant summons just fighting on the battlefield with you. Just that would be pretty sweet. But yeah, that's definitely not going to be in the part 2 trailer. We might even see Chocobos, bro. That would be awesome because honestly, if you think about remake style, Barrett, Aerith, and Tifa, and I guess Red would just run, but like they're gonna be on Chocobos. So is it going to be like Final Fantasy 15 where I can customize their Chocobos? That's the kind of stuff I want to see. I kind of want to see if will I be able to customize their Chocobos, or are they going to have their own unique Chocobo like in 15? That'd be cool. I'd like to see that. Because you need a Chocobo to cross the marshlands according to the original, but it could be different according to our theories that we haven't talked about. This video we're hyping up for the past like half year that's probably not going to be that. It's just like a video, you know what I mean?
It's going to be a 30-second
Choco
video.
Bros, yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. That's actually what I named my Chocobo in First Soldier. Just the Chocobro.
I named mine the Harbinger of Pain back when
it was overpowered. Yeah. Can we breed them? I think that would be a second, like in the second game. I really do. I really think we're gonna get some light breeding.
No. That's gonna be.
I think we'll get light breeding, bro. Some light breeding. We're not gonna go all the way up to gold, but maybe we get some Chocobos. That we can, a mountain Chocobo to go up to the Cliff Resort. Thank you. Check out my What to Expect video.
That's a mature rating right there.
Oh, some light breeding. You know what I mean?
Light breeding.
I also need a nut when I breed.
Carob nut.
Except, I need a carob nut. So I think we get some light breeding. You know what I mean? And racing them. Ooh, I'd like to see some racing with the camaraderie. Like let's race Tifa. Tifa lines up. They'd line up and they just go Wark. And like they're looking at each other like, all right, let's go. That'd be cool. Or you race Roche on your super fast Chocobo, and you're racing Roche.
So racing Chocobos against your party members would follow their line of like, let's test this out here, and so that we can fine tune it and implement it at the Gold Saucer when it becomes a story beat where Cloud needs to race. So
I mean, if they're going to build the mechanic. Put the mechanic, you know what I mean? Like, just have it ready to go. Right. Yeah. That would be cool, man.
Just some light bird smut.
Let's see what else we got, guys. We're kind of like going to shift from what we want the most to like what do you think we're going to actually see? Like, realistically speaking, what do you think would actually happen for this remake? I can start for you, Vinny, if you'd like, because I feel like what it's going to be is going to be a very, very brief trailer. I think we'll see a very, very short trailer, and I think we're going to see the official title. That's my opinion. I think we're going to see the official title for it. It won't be called Remake. It'll just be called Reunion, which is something I've talked about before. For next month. Like, it's almost inevitable. So we're talking about this trailer that we're hoping to see. Or just information drop. It could be an information drop, just literally sitting around talking about it. But so Peter really wants to see the Under the Highwind scene. Like that's the trailer. It's just like there's other ways to show people how you feel, and it's like remake part 2.
I think it's gonna be like a 30-second long trailer of like just piecing together some cutscenes to kind of tell you, to kind of give you a hint of where the story's heading, and then the title, and then maybe like Final Fantasy VII reunion, and then you see like fall of 2023 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I that would be a cool. I don't think we get a release window. Like I just don't think so. I think we get the name of the game. I think so that way people can officially start calling it what it is.
Start hashtagging it, build some hype.
Yeah, I mean, like if people are going to be making videos about it on YouTube, you want to establish that name for marketing purposes, basically. So I think we get. I honestly think it'll be something related to the flashback and Calm. I think it'll be, if we see any footage whatsoever, I think it'll be related to the flashback and Calm, and then you get the title pop up with the official name, and yeah, that's where I'm going with. So I see chat has some ideas. So yeah, go ahead. You take chat.
So Night Sky Prince says, so I do think Remake 2 is the better title. It is more clear. The other names people have suggested. Hold on a second.
Night Sky, Remake 2, or are you talking about like should it be called like is that literally what you said, or is it Remake Part 2? Like because a lot of people have been calling it Part 2, or do you think it just should be called Final Fantasy VII Remake 2? Literally calling it Remake 2. Okay.
The other names people have suggested doesn't indicate play order to casual players, but also Remake 2 sounds more important and communicates intent more than any other title could.
I agree. I mean, I see that for sure. I mean, I could say that I guess I could counter that with like I think Reunion would totally make a lot of sense for the game. Obviously, where they're going with it, it is as far as the original. Like if you go Reunion and then you also take out the. I don't want to say the lie, but you take out the deceit of saying that it's a remake when we know it's not at this point. Like, so if you say Remake 2, it kind of feels like you're still like going to say like, hey fans, you're getting Final Fantasy VII Remake again, but it's really at this point it's not. That's what my counter for it would be. That's my counter.
See, the way I read his comment, it sounds like they should call Final Fantasy 7 too.
Yeah, just drop it all together. Yeah.
When he says it doesn't indicate play order to casual players, my assumption is that he means like if it goes like Final Fantasy remake, then Final Fantasy VII Reunion, then Final Fantasy VII Requiem, to the casual player who hasn't played the original, and they're playing Final Fantasy VII Remake for like that's their first introduction to this Seven's world, and you start playing it, you don't know if Reunion comes first, Remake comes first.
That's a good point.
Or Requiem comes first. So saying Remake 2, Remake 3 kind of gives that clear play order. I mean, of course, you could always look it up, but if they want it to be clear and concise, then yeah, like Remake 1, Remake 2, Remake 3.
Yeah, for sure. I can totally agree with that. I see where you're going with that. Let's see. How do we not know the games that were trademarked are the only ones that will be shown? Oh, I have a topic. We can move on to that in just a second. Yeah, I have one of those. Japanese creatives are known for clear and concise naming. Definitely not any Nomura produced games, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean it could definitely. I mean, who saw Intergrade coming? You know, so this definitely. It could be very play-like for sure, like to play on the play pun. So like the Genesis play and everything, or the Loveless play. Sorry, God, I said it. I evoked the name. But the whole Loveless play, like intergrade is a very much a theater term, right? A terminology. So they could kind of go off of that, although I think they'll save that for. The DLC that's going to follow part 2 or remake 2. So I think, yeah, remake has been trademarked twice. Yeah, like, so remake Intergrade was literally trademarked, which is interesting. Yeah, so I mean, regardless, I see what King is saying here. Is saying a long ass title like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 Reunion. They have to like crunch it into the underline, underline. Yeah, Intermission was the name of the actual mission though for Yuffie though, so I don't know if they would do that. But yes, I mean, like, they could totally go off of that, right? So I think we'll see an actual title, so this whole debate can be put to rest. And then that way, when you're talking about it, when you're making videos on it, when Square wants you to obviously keep making videos on it, it will have in the title, the algorithm will build up of this is the name or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that they want you to be talking about until release. So, awesome. Now, we've already talked about that. Let's talk about what Peter said a little bit earlier when they trademarked. Now, Vinny, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Okay, because you don't know about the names. You don't know about the names. I'm gonna put 1 minute on the clock. And what you're going to do is I'm going to give you the name of what has been trademarked. And you're going to pitch the title, like, you're going to pitch what this game is. Like, you're going to tell me what the game is about. And if you don't like what you started with, you can just switch on a dime and just pitch me another game. You know what I mean? So here we go, Vinny. I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. What's up?
So, now, is this strictly Final Fantasy VII related, or anything in the Final Fantasy world, just by the name?
Okay, so technically it could be, like, literally anything Square Enix. But for the sake of this, let's just say it's a Final Fantasy spinoff. Or something like that.
Oh, a spinoff. Okay.
Yeah, or whatever you want to call it. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever you pitch it, it's got to be, maybe let's just say it's Final Fantasy related. Vinny, the title of the game is called Final Bar Line. What is that about?
Final Bar Line? Oh, man. So this is going to be an interactive sim. It's going to be Bard Sim 2023.
Okay.
And it's going to be Square Enix's break into like the Dance Dance Revolution, Guitar Hero style thing.
Wow, okay.
So you're gonna have to get the Square Enix loot, and then it's gonna be like Guitar Hero, where you're playing Final Fantasy songs.
What?
Remade, you know, and it's like Bard Hero, but like Final Fantasy.
It's Bard Hero.
Yeah, it's Bard Hero, but it's Final Fantasy, so you're gonna play all your favorites like, you know, Genova or Via Purifico, but it's all gonna be played on a lute that you're gonna buy, and it's gonna be like, you know, like the Rock Band style, and you know, the DLCs are gonna be extra instruments and all that stuff.
That's 1 minute. That's 1 minute.
All right.
That's 1 minute. I don't know if you. I said Final Bar Line. Not Final Bard.
No, I know, but
like after at a bar. Okay,
yeah,
I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, that's amazing. So it's like basically Theatrhythm, Theatrhythm Hero, and you have to buy the official instruments, the loot. That's cool. No, Vinny, I like where you're going with that. That's an amazing pitch, and I'd like to see Square Enix do better. You know what I mean? I had typed out some thoughts. For me, I think it's actually it's called Final Bar Line, right? So I got to thinking, I was like, I wonder if it's like in Final Fantasy, the logo, right? You have the Final Fantasy, and then there's a bar line underneath of it, right? And I'm like, what if it was just Final Bar Line, right? It's Final Fantasy without the fantasy, Vinny. So it's no longer fantasy anymore. It's final whatever you want to be. Like Lego Movie 2. You know what I mean? Like, I'm final whatever I want to be. And so final shooter. You know what I mean? Final romance. Final mystery. You know what I mean? So they're just going to create lines of games. And then you can just put that little Roman numeral after them. That's it, yeah, right? I don't think that's going to be the thing, but hey, I was like Final, and then there's a bar line underneath. What if it's just that? And the same font as Final Fantasy, though. So that way it gives you the sensation of like, oh, look, it's Final Fantasy spinoff, but it's totally not the fantasy part. There you go. And it's going to be NFT supported. So
Oh, good. I was worried that they weren't.
I was, yeah, me
you know.
too. Like, honestly, like my whole pitch was terrible until I said NFT was supported. So now there it is. I like your Bard hero better. And then, all right. So we have, and everybody in chat, if you have any questions, we're going to take a question. Now, this is the thing, right? So we're going to take one of your questions, or a few of them, depending on what's going on. You can ask us anything Final Fantasy related. Now, it doesn't have to be a serious question. It can be, and we will give you our serious answer. You could give us like a stupid question. You could give us like a make us choose between two things type thing, like Final Fantasy related. You know what I mean? You could just go for that, and we're gonna answer that question right here. All right. But first of all, we're gonna answer a question that came from Discord. So the question from Discord is, Rydia Farron asks, what would your roster for a Final Fantasy style MOBA be? So we're doing a what if scenario. If Final Fantasy got a MOBA spinoff, what would your roster be? Now, they give you 5 character classes, and then you have to choose a Final Fantasy character for the character class. I thought about adding like a stipulation. You can only choose 1 character per game. Okay, so you get 5 characters. They can't be from the same game. So, a warrior, assassin, mage, hunter, and guardian. So, I'll start with the warrior. What I guess this is like Dissidia too. So like Dissidia MOBA. So you can choose villains, you can choose playable characters.
And by MOBA they mean like Pokemon Unite, League of Legends.
In a sense, yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
Well, those are what MOBAs are, the
right,
massive online battle arenas.
Okay.
So so like that, for that style game, like I would definitely want. So are we allowed to choose villains as well? Because you said like the Cydia style, so like you can have villains on your team as well.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So
go for it.
I feel like for warrior,
the warrior,
I'd probably want Sephiroth, for speed and range.
Okay. I like it. Assassin.
So assassin, I feel like. So now I'm trying to think like who exactly fits these categories.
Right. Yeah. I kind of went like I went a different route with it. But yeah, go ahead.
So assassin. Sephiroth for a warrior.
Assassin. I mean, Sephiroth is an assassin, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Assassin, I'd probably go with Riku.
Dang.
Mage, I'm gonna go with. Well, I can't go with Yuna now since you added the stipulation.
I did add the stipulation. Yeah.
Mage, I was gonna go with Yuna for like heals.
Okay.
I feel like Yuna just feels like a healer, but I feel like Mage, you can go Vivi. He kind of resembles Vigor. I mean, if there's a lot from League.
Yeah, and plus it's when you think Mage Final Fantasy, I didn't choose Vivi though. But go ahead, and then for Hunter.
Hunter, I gotta go with Fran. Fran just evokes
that's a good choice.
Hunter feeling.
I like that. I like that choice.
And then Guardian, I'm assuming is more like like tank. So
that's what I kind of figured too. Right? Yeah. Somebody who can tank some hits.
I'm struggling to remember his name, but he suplexes the train in Final Fantasy VI.
Oh, Sabin.
Sabin, that's it. I was thinking of Saab. I was like, no, that's a car. That's a car. Yeah, Sabin. I feel like he'd be a pretty decent tank.
Okay, I like where you went with that. I like your choices there, Vinny. I'll give you mine now. So for Warrior, I just could not choose Cloud. You know what I mean? Like I felt weird. I had somebody else listed, and then I just was like, man, where am I going to put my boy Cloud? Because he doesn't fall really under any other thing than Warrior, I guess. Right? And I'm just like, if I don't have Cloud on there, but I'll give you my second choice just so I feel like I'm going to cheat the system, okay, Vinny? My second choice would have been Lightning from Final Fantasy 13. Yeah, as the warrior. All right, so warrior, Cloud, assassin, Noctis, because Noctis can do that teleport. That's an assassination right there, man. Like, and then just stab him. You know what I mean? Done. Assassin, Noctis. He can really get across that field quick, get behind the enemies, get them. All right, my mage and Night Sky Prince, if you're still watching, this one's for you. I didn't know you were going to be here tonight, but this is for you. So now you get to Yasholta, okay? Because she's just a badass mage. I love it. It's like, I mean, you know what I mean? I like Yasholta. I like me some Yasholta. Okay? But I like how you went with Fran. And remember the whole, like, the debate that we had, Yasholta versus Fran? Woo! What a tough one. So anyway, Yasholta as my mage. Hunter, Jack. Because he don't give a... I don't give a fuck who you are. Jack has got to be my hunter. And then my guardian, I was just like, I got to go Final Fantasy X with Yuna's actual guardians, and it's Auron. So there you go, man. That's my lineup. Cloud, Noctis, Yasholta, Jack, and Auron. I think that's a pretty sweet lineup. And yeah, there you go. That's our MOBA stuff. Who did we have? Anybody in chat join in? Night Sky Prince did definitely say something. Final Fantasy 14 PvP, basically a MOBA meets Overwatch, which is honestly, I kind of wanted to jump back into 14 to play the PvP because it does seem like a lot of fun. And that's the kind of content that I'm not judging 14 on. When I speak about 14. I have never experienced the PvP and stuff like that, and those and obviously the big raids or anything like that. So that's the content that I want to go back to 14 for, and it does look like a lot of fun. We got Zack for Warrior from Peter. He says Zack for Warrior, Genesis for Mage. Okay, that's interesting. All right. And then, yeah, League of Legends has like 7,000 characters, so you could put the entirety. Yeah. Dissidia would have a field day with that. Let's see. Oh boy, I hope they don't make a MOBA because I'd play it. And that's not good. Money would be down the drain. King just solved Square Enix problem. No way said. What was that? Oh, for the title names, it was FF7R. And then for the second game, FF7RR, and then FF7RRR. All right, well there you go, man. That was our we had question from Discord, and Barrett Peter for tank.
Says, Peter. Barrett for tank.
If it was going to be a Final Fantasy VII MOBA, which is actually probably more likely than anything, because they'll just do Final Fantasy VII, put that brand on everything. Final Fantasy VII MOBA, I would have to say Warrior, Cloud, Assassin, Sephiroth, Mage, Vincent? That count? Does that count?
I'd say Aerith. I'd say Aerith would be the mage.
Yeah. I guess that's like because I'm not thinking like white mage, but I guess yeah. So Aerith, Mage, Hunter, Vincent, Guardian, Barrett. Yeah, I think that's what I would go with. Or Assassin, and I put. If I had to go no villain, I'd go Tifa. That sounds good. I didn't go outside the realms of the playable characters, did I? So why not? Let's throw freaking Don Corneo as my guardian.
Yeah, I feel like Don Corneo would be the tank.
Yeah, Don Corneo.
Or if they made a MOBA for about maybe not playable characters, but a MOBA for all the summons.
Dang, that would be cool. I like that idea. Huh. All right, so yep, we just hit the hour mark, Vinny, so we're going to actually kind of wrap this up. So this is the part of the show where if you have any questions that you want to put us on the spot and ask us, go for it. We'll take any of your questions. Usually we'll do a little Mad Libs at the end of this, but I think I think the game for this evening was you just on the spot pitching Bard Hero, which was awesome. So there it is. I want to thank everybody who actually came by and watched this live, adding to the conversation. Love it when you guys do that. It's always a lot of fun seeing you in chat. So thank you. So yeah, if you don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I mean, literally, you could ask us anything. I mean, that's the thing. Like literally, just make us answer a dumb question. You know, a dumb Final Fantasy question. We'll do it.
Don't
Peter,
ask me
thank
about
you, man.
feet.
Thank you. Huh?
Don't ask me
Oh, no.
And
No.
there you go. Now you remembered.
Yeah, I see the image in my mind. I guess we're not at liberty to discuss. But all right, yeah, Vinny's a paramedic. That's all I can say. All right, so there we go. FFTV homies with that. Thank you, No Way. Thanks for being here. All right, guys. Until next time, this has been the Final Fantasy Entertainment and Podcast Network, Final Fan TV. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Have a good night.